p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have roll call, please, Maureen.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Beard?
Here.
Mr. Bembo?
Here.
Mrs. Hett?
Here.
Mrs. Rail?
Here.
Mr. Krings?
Here.
Mrs. Medina?
Here.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll start out with the student representatives report. Jacqueline.
Okay, so for this month, it was kind of, there wasn't really a lot of stuff going on, but there's a forensics district competition this Saturday at 7 at Rams. And then there's a DECA competition from today to Thursday at Lake Geneva.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any comments? Or I'm sorry, we'll go to the minutes.
I don't think she's quite done.
Oh, you finished?
The Spirit of Excellence. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. So I'm gonna be representing the Lincoln High School Student Council for sharing the Spirit of Excellence. I'll just pass it down this way. But so what it is it's a program that honors Wisconsin schools that achieve excellence in leadership development, school spirit, sportsmanship, service to school and community. And each year, one high school from one of the 6 regions, like each region, the Wisconsin Association of School Councils picks a school from each region. And then from the selection of the 6 regions, there's one state winner. For Lincoln High School, we were selected to represent Region 2, and we were given free tickets to the Milwaukee Bucks game, and that's when we're going to be honored during halftime at the court. So some of how our Spirit of Excellence is separated by, so one of the categories, there's like a couple of different categories, and then in there's like a short little description of our activity that we do, and sometimes there's some pictures too. So one of them is service to the school and community, and that consists of activities such as like elementary school visits. So student council, we go to elementary schools and we help out and interact with the kids there. And then we also had the Do Be Nice, which is we basically appreciate one of our school staff. And then volunteering at the neighborhood table. And then another category is the sportsmanship, and for this we had hosting state cross country meets and state gymnastics. And then another category is the leadership, and there's individual categories for the overall leadership. So this one's like academic achievement. So the Wisconsin Center for Academically Talented Youth, we had that for that category, and the National Honor Society and mock trial. And then another part of the leadership category was athletic achievement. So in that one we had powerlifting, the state cross country meet, individual qualifier, and getting the Ripper jug. And then another category in the leadership is the fine arts, so the spring musical and fall play. And then another one was dedicated to just like leadership in general, so we had Badger State, DECA, and forensics for that. And then another one was a dedication to lowering the achievement gap. And so like some of the things we had was a career day and tutoring programs. And there's a bunch more in there. These are just like some of the examples that were under the categories. So, and then we're gonna also present that at our state conference for student council.
Wow.
Very cool.
Incredible. Thank you.
Jackie, do you know, because I know that Lincoln has got several Spirit of Excellence awards, do you know how many this is? Or not?
I'm not sure, because we have had a couple of, like, last year we didn't submit it on time, or like to the right place, so we didn't like apply for it.
Okay.
But I think it was like the year before that we also got it too. And I know that we got it a couple years back too, but I don't know the exact amount of time, so.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. I was gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Just that.
Great. Thank you for the report. Congratulations.
Yes.
Very well deserved. Very proud of that. Thank you. Okay, move on to the minutes then.
I would make a motion to approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of February 10th, 2020, and the special Board of Education meeting minutes open and closed of March 2nd.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of February 10th and the special Board of Education meeting minutes open and closed session of March 2nd. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Those minutes are approved. Move on to comments from citizens and delegations. Do we have any, Marie?
None.
Okay, thank you. We can go into committee reports, educational services. Mary?
Thanks, John. The Educational Services Committee held its regular meeting on Monday, March 2nd, 2020. There are 7 consent agenda items. Does anyone need anything else? All right, then I will make a motion to approve the following. ES1, to approve Board Policy 345.11, Procedures for Academic Excellence Scholarships, first reading. And this included updates and changes that were clarified for the board. ES2 was to approve Board Policy 423, Public School Open Enrollment, and 423 Rule, Procedures for Processing Public School Open Enrollment Applications for first reading. And this was updated language and also clarification of the policy. ES3 was to approve the rescheduling the January 2021 professional development date from January 25th, 2021 to January 18th, 2021. And it is more convenient for students who want to participate in community events to honor Dr. Martin Luther King, which is the day that, January 18th is the day that they celebrate that in 2021. ES4 was to approve blended strength and fitness summer school pilot class during the 2020 summer school session, 4.5 PE or elective credit. This class will be available to students in grades 10 through 12, and it will cover the same material as the class currently covers during the school year. Let's see. ES5 is to approve the Method Prep ACT course to be offered during the 2020 summer school session, 4.5 graduation credit. This is an online class to help students more thoroughly prepare their college and career readiness skills as measured by the ACT. ES6 is to approve the pilot course America's Voice to be offered during the 2020-2021 school year for a 0.5 ELA credit and a 0.5 social studies credit. This class provides an opportunity for students to learn history through literature. And then ES6 was to approve the pilot course America's Story to be offered during the 2020-2021 school year for a 1.0 ELA credit and a 0.5 social studies credit. And this course is an extension of America's Voice, providing greater emphasis on literature to deliver historical information. And then, those were the consent.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ES1 through ES7. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, and then we had, Roxanne had given us 2 updates. One was secondary language arts coordinator and the other one K-12 social studies coordinator. Jake Bertinoli has been serving the district as the K-12 social studies coordinator. Beginning with the 2020-21 school year, Jake will instead be allowed 1 class period each day to complete his coordinator work in lieu of receiving a stipend. And there will be some restructuring of the K-12 literacy coordinator position. Currently, Jen Wilthorn, Assistant Director of Curriculum, serves as the literacy coordinator for grades K through 12. There are distinct differences between early literacy and elementary reading and writing instruction and secondary ELA instruction. And in order to better serve the ELA needs of our students in kindergarten through 12th grade, as well as the professional development needs of our K through 12 staff, the district has created a secondary literacy coordinator position. Miranda Moody will serve in this capacity. She will be allowed 1 class period each day to complete her coordinator work. And with that, I make a motion to approve the Ed Services Committee minutes of Monday, March 2nd, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the Educational Service Committee of March 2nd, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Those minutes are approved. That's the report, Mary. Move on to business services. John.
Thank you, John. Business services met on March 2nd, and the meeting was called to order at 6:30. Out of our meeting, we had 5 consent agenda items. Is there anything that anybody wanted to find out? Hearing none. BS1, I move the approval of
the purchase of Oasis Special Education Administrative Software at a first-year price of $20,500, followed by an annual cost of $14,500 for the second and third years. This will be funded from the 2021 Special Education budget. This is a software program that Dan and Scott brought forward, saying that the Skyward platform that they're currently using is very cumbersome. Matter of fact, if they have to enter like 13 different things for one student on an IEP, they have to do it 13 times. That's how unfriendly the software package is. So a group among herself and a group of other special educators, they looked at different software packages and came up with this one as the best option for getting the information in a very user-friendly fashion. Plus, it also still talks to Skyward, so they get the data from the Skyward program as opposed to having to re-enter. BS2 is proposed purchase of Discovery Education Online from Capstone at a cost of $23,950 to be funded from the 2019-20 District Common School Fund budget for approval. This is a software program for the library media, which the district has been using for about 15 years. And this one's primarily a high school program. The next two actually are still software programs. So BS3, the committee recommends and I move that the proposed purchase of Pebble to Go and Pebble to Go Next from Capstone at a cost of $12,593.70 to be funded from the 2019 District Common School Fund budget be recommended. Again, that is a software program primarily for K2, as well as moving it up to the next grades to Pebble Go Next is for grades 3, 4, and 5. And that again is a library software program. BS4, committee recommends and moves that the proposed renewal of various online databases and resources from Wills at a cost of $13,916.73 to be funded from the 2019-20 District Common School Fund budget be recommended. Again, this is a software program primarily for the high school and the middle school, and it's multiple things. But we do get a discount off of it, which is nice for the multiple programs that we have. And the last item, BS5, the committee recommends and I move the purchase of Chromebooks, bump fiber cases at a cost of $6,891.50 to be funded from the 2020-21 District Technology budget for approval. The reason they wanted to push this through is to save cost on before the price increase. And these are also the ones that are used for the one-to-one, so the incoming freshman class this next school year will be needing these cases, because they won't get all the other ones back in time to pull them off and refurbish them, or put them onto the new system without whatever's being returned by the seniors this year. With that, the committee recommends and I move the approval of BS1 through BS5.
Second.
We have motion and a second to approve BS1 to BS5. Could we have roll call, please, Maureen?
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mrs. Heck?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayon?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Bendel?
Yes.
Thank you, Maureen.
Then we have a couple updates and reports. We had a purchases update, which would be the cost for our police liaison officer. It's a quarterly update. Then secondly, another thing to save money before the price increase. The committee was updated that the purchase of 96 Chromebooks for Pick Academy, Woodside, and Washington. These Chromebooks were purchased approved prior to the $7 increase, which was going to take effect of March 6th. Ordering prior to March 6th saves the district over $600. The other issue that was brought up that with the coronavirus and the issues of China not working, there's some parts issues and different issues with product coming over, so prices are going to probably go up due to that factor. With that, the committee recommends I move the approval of the meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the Business Service Committee of March 2nd, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, minutes are approved. Thank you, John. Move on to Personnel Services. Sandy.
Personnel Services met last Monday, March 2nd. From that meeting, we have 8 consent agenda items, and we had no public comment either. The items are as follows. Number 1, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 1 professional staff appointment. 2, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 2 support staff appointments. 3, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 1 professional staff retirement. Yeah, I lost that one. 4, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 5 professional staff early retirements. 6, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 1 support staff early retirement. 6, the committee recommends and I move to approve a professional staff-based wage increase for starting teachers with no experience to $41,500 and an increase for starting teachers with no experience but who hold a master's degree to $46,500 effective for the 2020-21 school year. This is a $1,500 increase for each category. We just absolutely have to be competitive with our districts or we're not going to get good teachers. I mean, that's all there is to it. This will take effect on July 1st. And with this, when it comes time to adjust for the CPI, there will be no additional increase for these with the CPI. 7, the committee recommends and I move to approve Board Policy 361.1 Rule Procedures for Selection and Reconsideration of Library Materials for second reading. There's just some minor changes. There were changes for library material selection, some minor changes for the criteria for selection of materials, some changes for the overdue library materials, and finally some changes for lost and damaged materials with that policy. 8, the committee recommends and I move to approve an increase from 2% to 3% for the archery club co-curricular assignments at Rams. This is due to the fact that we have 38 kids there, and what we've done is we've added another individual. So the primary individual will get a 2%, the additional will get a 1%. And this is based on a $38,000 base. Does anybody want?
So I'll second that.
Oh.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve PS1 through PS8. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we
Motion's
need to
carried.
do roll call on one of mine?
No, it said we did not.
And then we had an update on the Employee Assistance Program Activity and Utilization Update. It was interesting, the primary presenting problems were 26% marital or relationships, 24% was anxiety or depression, 21% was other, 18% family or parenting, and 11% stress. Then they broke it down by client type. We had like 59% employee, 26% dependent, and 15% spouse or partner. And with that, I move that the minutes from the March 2nd, 2020 Personnel Services Committee meeting be approved as printed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the Personnel Services Committee meeting of March 2nd, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, the minutes are approved. Thank you, Sandy. We can move into agenda referrals or information requests. All right, legislative agenda. Troy, what's new?
So this month, there's one federal issue I want to take a look at, and then we'll take a look at what's happening in the State House, since a lot of the end of the legislative session is fast approaching. So for the federal issue, from the Office of School Safety, the U.S. Department of Justice announced that the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, the COPS office, has $50 million in grant funding available for programs that keep students safe. The STOP School Violence Prevention Program provides funding to improve school security through evidence-based school safety programs. And actually, Rapids held a training for this a couple weeks back at the end of February for adolescent mental health training. And going into March, there are upcoming trainings as well on the calendar for that grant from the OSS. So that's the federal issue. Looking at stateside again, the State Assembly met late into the evening on February 20th into the early morning on the 21st. And they passed quite a number of bills before adjourning for the year. and I'll take a look at those. They actually passed 10 K through 12 related bills coming out of the Assembly. The Assembly also passed on a bipartisan vote the GOP income tax cut package for surplus state revenues, with the Assembly Democrats unsuccessfully trying to amend the bill to the public school funding and property tax relief proposed by Governor Evers. The package had previously passed the state Senate, and it now heads to the governor's desk, where its fate is uncertain at this point. They did pass, coming out of the Assembly, they did pass 10 K through 12 related education bills on the 20th into the 21st. The first one is Assembly Bill 422. This relates to raising the legal age for sale, purchase, and possession of cigarettes and nicotine and tobacco products. This bill raises the minimum legal age requirements under state law relating to these products from 18 to 21. As I mentioned a month or two ago, an amendment to this bill had watered down the bill to the point that WASB no longer got behind it. However, in response to their concerns and those of a variety of health and school groups, John Spiros of Marshfield offered up a new amendment that was passed on the Assembly floor. That amendment explicitly defines vapor products and applies the same age 21 restrictions to the sale of vapor products and devices. WASB views this as a huge improvement in terms of getting vaping products and devices out of our schools and out of the hands of minors. With this amendment, WASB supports this version of the bill, and they offer up their thanks to Representative Spiros for the amendment. And this amended bill will head to the state Senate. The second bill, Assembly Bill 459, incorporates cursive writing into the state model English language arts standards and requires cursive writing in elementary grades. An amendment that would have funded this mandate was brought forth by Steve Doyle of Onalaska, and other Assembly Democrats voted down. This was voted down, and the bill was passed by the Assembly on a voice vote. WASB opposes this bill based on our resolutions opposing unfunded mandates and supporting local school board control of overall curricular decisions. The next one that came out of the Assembly was Assembly Bill 662, which is creating a 3-year online early learning pilot program for low-income children. The Assembly passed the Senate companion bill of this, Senate Bill 595, which had already passed the Senate, and this will be heading to the governor's desk. WASB has not taken a position on Assembly Bill 662. The next one, Assembly Bill 753, deals with modifications to the tax treatment of tax option corporations that elect to pay tax at the entity level. The state annually makes personal property aid payments to compensate local taxing jurisdictions, including school districts, tech colleges, municipalities, for the revenue they lose due to personal property being exempt. Many jurisdictions, including school districts, received more personal property aid than they should have, while other jurisdictions, including school districts, received less. These provisions added by the Assembly allow districts to keep their windfall overpayments while correcting for underpayments. WASB did come out and support this solution to the problem. The next bill is Assembly Bill 779. This would allow virtual charter school students who reside in a district to participate in district athletics and other extracurricular activities. This bill would also prohibit school districts from belonging to an organization such as the WIAA that regulates interscholastic athletics unless the organization requires its districts to allow both homeschooled students and virtual charter school students who reside in the district to participate in the programs and with the teams. This bill was amended on the floor to remove language prohibiting school boards from being members of the WIAA unless this allows virtual charter school students who reside in the district to participate in the district's athletic teams. WASB opposes the amended version of the bill based on their member-approved resolutions. The next bill, Assembly Bill 810, making school district and school financial information available to the public. This bill would create an 11-person committee to advise the DPI on creation and design of the financial information portal. And it would require the DPI to make information collected through the system and through annual school district reports available on a website of the DPI's internet site. This bill passed the Assembly and it now heads before the State Senate, and that was Assembly Bill 810. Couple more coming out of the Assembly. Assembly Bill 849 expands the part-time open enrollment program, which currently applies at the high school level and renames it the Course Choice Program. Under the bill, a pupil enrolled at an educational institution, as defined in the bill, in grades 1 through 12, may attend a course at another educational institution, but no more than a total of 2 courses at any one time. Assembly Bill 849 passed the Assembly and now heads to the Senate for approval. And WASB has come out in support of a statewide program that permits full-time open enrollment between and within districts. But in the current form of this bill, WASB has come out in opposition to it, and they have mentioned concerns about transportation and safety issues with young children who would be attending only 1 or 2 classes at another school, and a lack of clarity about whether a public school district can give preference in allocating spaces in classes to its resident students or its full-time open enrollment students. So the current language of the bill, they do not come out and support that. Next is Senate Bill 72, which requires the DWD to include 16 specific occupational areas, commonly referred to as career clusters, in the youth apprenticeship program. In this bill, which it passed the Assembly and it passed the Senate, it now heads to Governor Evers for approval, and WASB has not taken a position on Senate Bill 72 yet. Next, Senate Bill 437 deals with the revenue limit ceiling for school districts. This bill corrects a situation that narrowly affects, in this case, the Freedom Area School District. It prevented that district from utilizing the adjustment made by the legislature in the low revenue ceiling. This bill had passed the Senate and now heads to Governor Evers' desk as well. WASB has not taken a position either way on this bill. The last of the 10, Senate Bill 527, which deals with seclusion and physical restraints of pupils. The Assembly concurred in this bill, which had already passed the Senate and heads to Governor Evers' desk as well. WASB was involved in discussions with various disability rights groups, special education advocates, and the DPI as this bill was being developed. As noted, this bill would impose some additional requirements on schools. However, on balance, we believe those requirements will be beneficial to students and if carefully followed, will help districts avoid legal liability. This bill also changes where data on incidents of seclusion or restraint is housed to place it within the DPI, which may ease the burden on schools of responding to data requests. The change is something that WASB sought, although for the bill itself, they are officially neutral at this time, and that was Senate Bill 527. So that's what came out of the Assembly on their final floor session, February 20th into the 21st. And also to note that when the Assembly returns next session, the makeup of its membership will look a little differently. 3 current representatives are retiring from the legislature. 2 are running for the state Senate this fall, and 1 member of each chamber is running for Congress. 3 representatives of the Milwaukee area are seeking local offices this spring, and this is the final bills to come out of the Assembly as they now stand adjourned for the 1920 session. The state Senate is expected to have 1 more floor day in early March before they are going to adjourn as well. So that is, those are the bills that came out of February 20th. Also in the legislature, the governor and the legislature are in a showdown per se on how to tackle the surplus funding. On February 20th, the state Senate passed a proposal to cut income taxes to the tune of $250 million. Also buy down state debt and reduce the personal property tax on businesses. The plan headed to the Assembly, where it was approved later that day, along with the other 10 K-12 bills, and was sent to Governor Tony Evers. The governor had previously called for his own plan to spend about $250 million on public schools and property tax relief. The governor now has to decide whether to sign into law what came out of the GOP legislators' income tax cut, or veto that and continue to press for his plan, which would increase education funding. On the February 18th ballot, it was a rough day for the different school referendums that were on the ballot. All three of those were turned down by voters, one just narrowly. The result was a departure from the recent trend of voters approving a majority of school referenda in past cycles. Voters in Edgar and Lakeland Union rejected requests to exceed revenue limits for operational purposes. Both of these requests asked voters to approve exceeding the revenue limits on a reoccurring basis. And the third one, voters in River Ridge School District turned down by one vote only a referendum that asked for voters' approval to borrow money for an outdoor educational facility. Yeah, it was 333 to 1 to 330. So one vote was the deciding factor on that. So they turned down potential to make site improvements and putting up athletic fields. Unfortunately, this past February, all three were rejected. The last of the bills, and I know I mentioned this in reports past as it was being talked about in committee, but the bipartisan legislation that would require lead testing of drinking water in schools, authored by Senator Rob Cowles of Green Bay and Representative Jeremy Theisfeld of Fond du Lac. That bill did pass the state assembly on February 18th after it was being tacked on as an amendment to another bill on water quality. That one was Assembly Amendment 2 to Assembly Bill 797, which did pass unanimously. This was one bill of a package of 13 water quality bills that passed. This amendment would address lead in drinking water by requiring testing, and if necessary, requiring contaminated water sources be taken offline and replaced with clean water sources. However, this bill provides no state funding, and it leaves it to schools and communities to address the costs, which are largely on no one. At this point, WASB has, because of that, the costs taken into effect has not come out in support of that.
Thank you for your report, Troy. Can move on to the bills.
I would make a motion that the receipts be noted and the bills be paid as printed.
We have a motion and a second that the receipts be noted and bills paid as printed. We have roll call, please, Maureen?
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mrs. Hett?
Yes.
Mr. Bumble?
Yes.
Mr. Beard?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayon?
Yes.
Thank you, Maureen. Can move into new business. Item 8, possible action on employee appointments, resignations, retirement requests. Do we have any, Brian?
There are none.
Okay. Item B, action to approve CISA 5 contracted services for the 2021 school year.
So a copy of the upcoming year's CISA 5 contract was included in your packet. There's virtually no changes from what we are currently engaged in with CISA 5 proposed for next year. And based on utilization, some of these things ebb and flow depending upon student numbers, need, and that kind of thing. But the total amount, $334,609, is down about $30,000 from what we had agreed to this year. And I'm not 100% certain what to attribute that to, but in comparison, it's basically a little bit of dollars from here and there across the board. There wasn't a unilateral sort of increase, and CISA 5 has kind of held the line on costs with recent years. Once again, unchanged. The lion's share, almost half of our total, is coming in the form of 5 seats at the Wood County Alternative School. That is, even though costly, a very much needed program for those 5 students that enjoy that opportunity. So there's really not, there's not a ton. Our central office administrators reviewed the CISA 5 contract and have, gone through and identified whether or not we can live without any of these services, and the answer to that question is no. The other portion that's taken up with the majority of dollars is physical therapy, which is only a part-time agreement, and then teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing, and also a teacher for visually impaired students. Those are not full-time positions either, and those are not positions that we would take under our own umbrella and take care of, because we don't have the need, the numbers wise need to call for a full-time position in either of those, so.
So I got one question. When it says quantity, 1338, is that the number of students? What does that quantity mean?
So they, CISA 5 typically prepares their bill in terms of units of service, so they plot out like 15 minutes of service would be 1 unit,
Okay,
so,
so that's a unit.
exactly, not number of students.
Well, that's what I thought that seems awful high
Yeah.
for deaf students.
Yeah.
Times of contact.
I would move, we approve the CSF contracted services for the 2021 school year.
A second.
Do we have a motion, a second, to approve the CISA 5 contracted services? Roll call, Mike?
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mrs. Royal?
Yes.
Mrs. Het?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Bembel?
Yes.
Marie. Last item, discussion and possible action to approve a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds and establishment of an escrow account with respect to and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation refunding bond series 2015 dated June 29th, 2015. Dan?
The bond market hasn't been favorable to our plan to defease the debt, but it actually cost a little bit more than what we were planning on, but we're able to defease the final 3 years of the last debt we took out from the last referendum, which would leave just 2 payments remaining for a total of $920,000 on that borrowing. I think, if you remember, we borrowed about $5.2 million, and so with this defeasance, that would leave $920,000 left on that bond issue. Any questions on what we're,
So what is the amount that's being defeased?
let's see. Oh, yes, I do.
First, tell us what it means.
It's $2 million.
So about 2/3 of it?
There it is, thank you. $2,144,998.76. It eliminates the final 3 years of the callable debt. The debt is callable in 2 years, so it'll be put into an escrow account for 2 years, and then those bonds will be paid off at that point.
And then I make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation refunding bonds, series 2015, dated June 29th, 2015.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation refunding bond series 2015 dated June 29, 2015. Need roll call? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Mrs. Royal?
Yes.
Mrs. Het?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mr. Bembel?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Maureen, and that's the end of all of our business. If we look forward to the calendar, on the 16th, there's a student wellness committee meeting. Spring break is coming up March 23rd through the 27th. Thursday, the 2nd of April, there's a Council for Instructional Improvement Committee meeting, and then Building Constructions Trade Committee meeting on April 6th at 5:40, and then our normal committee meetings at 6 o'clock. So with that, we're adjourned. Good luck.